The drama surrounding the WNBA's financial future becomes even more striking when you step back and look at the number that changed everything. $2.2 billion. That is the value of the new television agreement the WNBA signed with media giants beginning in 2026, a deal that instantly redefined the league's place in the sports economy. For decades, the WNBA fought for visibility, fighting for airtime, fighting for legitimacy, fighting simply to be taken seriously on the national stage. Now, suddenly, some of the biggest companies in the world are willing to invest billions to broadcast its games. It is a moment that should feel like pure celebration for women's basketball. But beneath that historic agreement lies a complicated structure that has ignited one of the most uncomfortable conversations in the sport's history, a conversation about who is actually benefiting from the explosion of attention surrounding the league. The deal itself involves three broadcasting powerhouses: Disney, Amazon, and NBC. Together, they committed to paying approximately $200 million per year for the right to broadcast WNBA games across multiple platforms. The contract stretches across 11 years, bringing the total value to that now famous figure of $2.2 billion. For the league, it represents a staggering transformation. Only a few years ago, the WNBA's television contract was worth around $60 million annually. The new agreement represents more than a threefold jump in yearly value and signals that major networks believe women's basketball has entered a new era of demand. The surge in attention did not happen by accident. The league had been growing steadily, but the arrival of one particular player accelerated that growth at a pace almost nobody predicted. The moment Caitlin Clark stepped onto a professional court, the entire media landscape shifted. Her college career had already become a national spectacle, and when she entered the WNBA, the ripple effect was immediate. Television ratings surged. Arenas sold out weeks in advance. Social media engagement exploded. Games that once attracted modest audiences suddenly drew millions of viewers. Networks saw something they had rarely seen before in women's professional sports, a player capable of transforming casual viewers into loyal fans almost overnight. And yet the most jarring detail in this entire financial explosion is the salary tied to that historic moment. During her rookie season in 2024, Caitlin Clark's base salary was just over $76,000. The contrast between that number and the billions surrounding the league is what has fueled so much outrage among players and fans. Even with endorsement deals and outside income streams, the basic salary structure of the league makes the disparity impossible to ignore. At the center of the conversation sits a figure who has spent decades shaping basketball in Indianapolis: Herb Simon. Simon is widely known as the longtime owner of the Indiana Pacers, but he also owns the Indiana Fever, the franchise that now employs Caitlin Clark. His history in professional basketball stretches back to the early 1980s when he and his brother purchased the Pacers and began building what would become one of the most stable ownership situations in the NBA. For years, the Fever operated quietly within the WNBA ecosystem, winning a championship in 2012 and developing respected stars along the way. But the team never experienced the kind of global spotlight that Clark's arrival suddenly brought. Overnight, the Fever became the most-watched team in the league. Tickets vanished within minutes. Merchandise sales skyrocketed. Every road game turned into a national event. The Fever were no longer just another franchise. They had become the center of the WNBA universe. The league's central revenues, including television money, are divided into three major ownership categories. The first group consists of NBA owners who hold significant stakes in the WNBA's financial operations. The second group includes owners of WNBA franchises themselves. The third category emerged more recently when the league raised outside investment capital from prominent business figures and institutions. What makes Simon's position unique is that he participates in all three of these financial buckets simultaneously. As the owner of an NBA franchise, he benefits from the NBA ownership stake connected to the WNBA. As the owner of the Fever, he receives revenue tied directly to the WNBA team ownership structure. And when the league raised outside investment funds in 2022, Simon also participated there, effectively placing him within the investor class as well. The result is a financial overlap that has raised eyebrows across the sports business world. Because of his multiple positions, Simon can theoretically receive portions of the league's central revenue streams through several different channels. Critics argue that this layered structure allows owners to benefit from the league's growth regardless of individual team spending, roster investments, or on-court performance. To many observers, the financial explosion of the WNBA has exposed a system that was never designed for this level of popularity. When the league was founded in the late 1990s, survival was the priority. Owners invested money with little guarantee of returns, and players accepted modest salaries in exchange for the chance to compete professionally. But the world of women's sports has changed dramatically since then. The audience is larger, the corporate partnerships are bigger, and the cultural significance of the league has grown in ways few anticipated. Clark's influence has accelerated that transformation faster than anyone expected. Her games broke viewership records that had stood for decades. Her draft night attracted several times more viewers than the previous year's event. Sponsors rushed to align themselves with the new face of women's basketball. Networks suddenly saw programming that could deliver ratings comparable to some established men's sports broadcasts. And that attention translated directly into financial value. League revenues surged toward the billion-dollar mark, a milestone that once seemed distant but now appears inevitable. Economists studying the sports business landscape frequently point to what they call the Caitlin Clark effect, a phenomenon where a single athlete reshapes the commercial trajectory of an entire league. Yet the distribution of that new wealth remains one of the most contentious debates in modern sports economics. According to figures often cited by analysts, WNBA players collectively receive a small fraction of overall league revenue compared with their counterparts in other professional leagues. In the NBA, players receive roughly half of basketball-related income through their collective bargaining agreement. In the NFL, the percentage sits just below that threshold. The WNBA's share remains dramatically smaller. Supporters of the current system argue that the league's financial structure reflects years of investment and risk taken by owners who sustained the league during difficult periods. Critics counter that the explosion in popularity has fundamentally changed the equation, and that players now deserve a significantly larger portion of the revenue they help create. For Simon personally, the moment is complicated. He is widely respected within basketball circles and was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in recognition of his decades of involvement in the sport. Former Fever superstar Tamika Catchings even helped present him during the ceremony, symbolizing the long partnership between the franchise and its players. But respect and tradition do not erase the questions now surrounding the league's financial structure. The WNBA is entering a new era where the scale of money involved forces everyone to reconsider how the system should operate. The same ownership model that once protected the league may now be limiting its ability to distribute wealth more evenly between owners and athletes. As the 2026 television contract approaches, the pressure to address these issues is only increasing. Players want a share that reflects the league's new reality. Owners want to maintain a structure they believe has kept the WNBA stable for nearly 3 decades. And somewhere in the middle sits the biggest star the league has ever produced, the player whose popularity helped unlock billions in media revenue. The numbers tell a powerful story. Billions flowing into television contracts. Franchise valuations climbing into the hundreds of millions. Investors lining up to buy a piece of the league's future. And yet the athlete who helped ignite that transformation once earned less than many entry-level professionals in other industries. That contradiction is why the conversation refuses to fade. It is not simply about one contract or one player. It is about whether the WNBA's next chapter will follow the same economic blueprint as its past, or whether the sport's explosive growth will force a new balance between the people who own the teams and the players who fill the arenas. If you've followed the rise of the WNBA and the impact Caitlin Clark has had on the league, this moment raises a bigger debate about the future of women's sports. Do you think the current financial structure of the WNBA is fair to its players? Or should stars like Caitlin Clark receive a much larger share of the revenue they help generate? And as the league continues to grow, do you believe owners like Herb Simon will eventually change the system? Or will the pressure from players force a new era of negotiations? Share your thoughts. Join the discussion. And if you want more deep dive stories breaking down the biggest moments shaping the future of sports, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next episode.